Hello and welcome to another episode of Common Sense OT Security. My name is Anthony, and today I want to talk to you about finding the right tools when it comes to getting visibility in your OT environment. And you want to do this because if you're coming from IT, which I know most of you are, you already know this one rule. And that one rule is you can't secure what you can't see. And it's that visibility that is our end goal for both IT and OT professionals. All right. So today I want to take a look at two parts. The first part is going to cover the discovery aspect, and the second part is going to cover the inventory aspect. So for discovery, your main goal here is to find your devices. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let me show you let me go ahead and show you that discovery portion. So essentially, I broke it down into two pieces, and this bottom piece is the discovery aspect. And we're going to take a look at that right now. All right. So let me bring up discovery for you, OT-based discovery. And I'll show you why it's so interesting. All right. So now, first things first, when I say discovery, I'm not just talking about a tool that pings an IP address and tells you, hey, something exists on the network. Because in OT, that's not good enough. That's like saying, hey, congrats, you found an IP address. That doesn't tell you what the device is, what it does, and what's it's connected to, sorry, or whether or not it even matters. What you really want is a discovery tool like OT-based discovery here that can interrogate devices in a protocol that the device actually understands. And that part is huge because it determines whether your inventory is going to be clean and useful, or whether you're going to spend the next 6 months playing detective and figuring out all the data you've collected, what it means and where it goes, essentially. So here's a few things that I personally think you should be looking for when it comes to OT discovery tools. And of course, I'm biased to OT base, because I feel like we got the number one tool out there. But as you will see, I'll point out what makes our tool stand out from the best. So number one, it has to be OT aware. And what that means is that it should understand the industry protocols, because OT devices don't speak normal IT the same way your laptops and servers do, for example. If your discovery tool can't speak OT, you're going to end up with a bunch of devices labeled unknown device, or I don't know, possibly controller. And then somebody's got to go in there and fill in the blanks manually. And when it comes to building this automatic OT inventory, you want as little manual work as possible, especially when it comes to the discovery aspect. And I'm telling you right now, manual inventory does not scale. Trust me on that. As easy as it is to start out in a spreadsheet or whatever, you'll find out over time that, yeah, this is not going to work. We're going to need better discovery, because humans make mistakes, and we see that all the time. And over time, you'll see that, it's not going to work out doing things manually, as it will seem to not ever finish. And then when you do get your data, it almost immediately becomes outdated. Okay, so number two, one of the things that's so great about OT based discovery is that it allows you to have deep metadata, not just presence. So instead of, when I mentioned earlier, a device exists, you don't want a tool that just tells you that a device exists. You want a tool that tells you things like, hey, I found this device. Here's its vendor, its model, serial number, if possible, all the firmware versions associated with this, and any services that are running on that particular device. And another big thing is that if your tool should be able to tell you what network it lives on, and as an added bonus, what it's talking to. Because once you have that level of detail, you can now actually do the next steps, which would be inventory, vulnerability management, audits, and policies. And trust me, having people do this manually, it's gonna involve a lot of mistakes and errors and things of that nature. That's why I said you want as little manual input when it comes to discovery. So the thing about OT-based discovery is that it takes away that manual side of things and allows you to go in there and do your tweaks. So for instance, now I'm running this from my home network, and I don't have any industrial tools at home, industrial computers or PLCs in my house, but I just wanted to give you an example of some of the things that you should look out for when, researching tools that exist that can discover your devices. Now, if I go here and scroll down this list, you'll see that the tool allows me to add a location, and I can do this at the both networks levels. Sorry. And if I go and select this tool, this device, for instance, it's a desktop. And in OT, people usually have engineering workstations, and you're going to want to pull information from those workstations so that they can be correctly inventoried. And remember when I said that you want something that had some deep metadata, not just saying, hey, I found this device at this endpoint here. We want to interrogate that. And for this particular probe, it interrogated this desktop using HTTP, and I believe it had WMI here. Well, when you go live, things happen. So this information was pulled via WMI, but I don't know why it's not showing up here. And as you can see, we are able to pull the type of device that it is. This is all automatic. And the vendor, along with the model, the hardware description, this can be edited manually. And I just updated it so that, when it moves over to inventory, people will know, oh, this is being used as a engineering desktop. Now, the cool thing about it is that since this was discovered via WMI, we are able to see the software that's on this machine. And this is one of the great features about OT-based discovery. You're not only able to see general information like the vendor, the model, and things of that nature, but you're able to pull information from the device itself. Now, if you take a look at everything here, you will see that this is actual software that you can find running on a desktop computer. Now, I don't use this desktop too much outside of work, but you can see all the software that's installed on it, which is really great because with this, you're able to do things like vulnerability management. You can find out what software is being affected by what vulnerability. And mind you, this did not come from me manually typing this in. This was all pulled from OT-based discovery, it using the protocols, the WMI protocol, to interrogate the device and find out information that we want, essentially. All right. Now, imagine doing that for all the engineering computers that you have at your company and manually typing in, oh, this has, I don't know, Microsoft Office or Flash, for example. You also have to know the version. You can get it all here in one shot. All you just need is to probe. And you can find things like the version, the last time it was ran, and you'll find the correct name of the software or the device. And that's going to be very important when it comes down to inventory further down the line. And when you have all that detail up front, everything downstream you take away the guesswork downstream. And another important thing is that your discovery has to be safe for OT. I know a lot of OT engineers are usually questioning the type of software that the IT professionals want to push on them. And that's understandable because in OT, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And you're introducing new software to something that's already working. But this is one of the benefits of having a discovery that is able to talk to those OT devices in their standard protocol. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds of how we do it, because that's industry secrets. But we are able to interrogate your OT devices and pull out and extract that information that you later need to do inventory. All right. So when it comes to IT and discovery, this is where the IT folks kind of have to shift their mindset a little bit, because in IT, they're used to, just scanning aggressively and running tools that hit everything and collect whatever we can. In OT, you have to respect the fact that some of those devices are sensitive and they're tied to real operations. So you want a discovery that's built for OT that you can collect what you need without disrupting what the plant is doing. And that's the key takeaway here. So you want a discovery tool that does the heavy lifting up front. And the heavy lifting is essentially gathering all this information and collecting all the software information, any connections with that device, and bundling it all up, packaging it up neatly, and shipping it over to, the other aspect of the ecosystem, which is the inventory side of things. Because if discovery does not pull the truth from the devices, the inventory essentially just becomes another spreadsheet. And now, once you've got discovery working the right way, the next question becomes, where does all of this data go? And if you say in a spreadsheet, coming to your house. So after you get all this data, you would want another tool, an inventory tool. This is the inventory side where we contextualize everything. Now, when I say contextualize, I mean we take the data and add meaning to it, so that way we can understand the environment. So what you really want is an inventory platform, like OT-based inventory, that's a central place where all of the devices live. You can think of this inventory as being the home base, or not the source of truth because of discovery, but yeah, you can call it the source of truth also. But this is the place where every device has a record. And that record isn't, let me change this camera. And that record isn't just a bunch of auto collected fields, it's a living profile. And you'll see in a little bit actual profiles of your devices. And from here, you can go in and do things like edit the metadata if need be. You can tweak naming conventions. Maybe your company has a certain naming convention that you want to reflect virtually inside of this platform. And you can add missing details. You can tag assets by importance and just kind of fill in the gaps that Discovery may or may not have been able to grab automatically. And that could be because of whatever reason. Maybe it could be like security or whatever. But to be real, OT environments are, well, they can be messy depending on the company you are at. But the majority of stuff is all over the place, and it's your job as an IT professional to bring everything together, bring everybody together, and just gather them all at this inventory table, so that everybody can understand and you guys can chop it up and exchange information and just get better visibility on what's going on in the OT environment. You're always going to have a bit of cleanup to do no matter what, and enrichment to do. But the difference here is that you'll be doing it from inside a system that keeps everything organized. That's definitely not a spreadsheet, not inside a spreadsheet that can be immediately outdated and no one can say, yes, that's the source of truth. So let me just show you what OT-based inventory looks like. Let's go ahead and add it to the stage. All right, so this is OT-based inventory. And first thing you're gonna notice is that it has all your devices. So me, like I stated earlier, I don't have any industrial devices in my house, but if you ran this at your company or whatever, the Discovery, and then import it into OT-based inventory, this is what it would look like. And you can see that it's a lot better than a spreadsheet where things are categorized, color-coded. You can tell off bat that like, oh, looking at green is actuators, blue clocks, light blue desktops, L2 switches in here. And let's see if we got any PLCs also. We have PLCs in pink. And remember when I told you about the profile, you can get a good profile of their devices. Take a look at this. All right, so this is a device profile for a PLC. And the context, you can see that we have the location. The location is set up in both inventory and Discovery. So you can set that up, and inventory automatically associates this device with this specific location. If we scroll further down, we can also see, let me find a better example here. Let's grab this one right here. Oh, there we go. This gives us a nice little map too. So this map was added by a user who wanted to enrich the data associated with this particular device. As you can see, it has a location. Just by looking at this profile, you can say, oh, okay, this is in North America and it's located at our Flat Rock facility and it's in Unit 1. Someone uploaded this map here, and I'm able to just read off everything from this one device profile. And we can also see that it was discovered via EIP and SNMP. And that's one of the key things about Discovery, that automatic tagging that Discovery does when it finds a device. It labels, hey, I found this device with EIP and SNMP. And this is all of the data associated with it. We got the type of device, the category, OT-based inventory was able to, logically categorize this device into a category. And remember when I said you can do vulnerability stuff? Inventory realized that, hey, this is discontinued. Rockwell, this device is no longer supported by Rockwell, and it highlights that too, along with the serial number. And get this, for all you security folks out there, OT based inventory, because Discovery was able to fully discover this device, meaning it found all the vendor information, the software that's on here, I mean the firmware, and the model. We're able to generate CPE strings that you can take and look up in the NIST database, for example. But you don't even have to do that because OT-based inventory brings that all into the platform, the inventory platform. And I'll show you that in a little bit. And with this device, you can find, this is an actual PLC. Yeah, you can find all the other hardware that's plugged into this rack, which is also amazing. But right now, going back to the OT folks, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And you can see that the firmware, where do we go? Here we go. The firmware, they're all outdated for each one of the devices in these slots. But if it's working, don't fix it. All right, so with all that automatic information that was discovered by Discovery, we're able to go in there and enrich our data. And that's a big win, because when you contextualize your environment, it turns your inventory from just a list of stuff to where you can actually start making sense of the data and adding context, like what site this belongs to, what network it's on. Here it is right here, the connectivity. And if this device is a part of a system, you can go ahead and pretty much model that system all here within OT-based inventory. And yeah, it's a great piece of software, and it's just filled with so many features that to break it down to the bare necessities of what you should be looking for when it comes to the inventory aspect. You want something that will take your Discovery data, load it up in a nice, convenient way, so that anybody can just look and say, oh, this is located here, and this is located here, and it's outdated, or we need to update the firmware on here. It's that context that you're really looking for when it comes to building this automatic OT inventory. But like I said, you want as little manual involvement as possible. Now, enriching stuff, yeah, that's perfectly great, but you don't want to type in the vendor name and the firmware. And remember that list of software that Discovery automatically collected for you? Imagine doing that manually times X amount of computers or devices that you have. And another thing I want to get into when it comes to your inventory side of things is your vulnerability management, your inventory platform. Here, we're using OT-based inventory because, it has that knowledge of OT. It also must have a place where people can go in and work on things like CVEs. Now, I know a lot of the IT folks, this is their main bread and butter when it comes to like figuring out what's vulnerable, what's needs to be updated. You can do that all within this platform, which is great. And and this is where IT people, their strong instinct kick in. It's like, all right, cool. Where's the scan button? But we don't, well, you know what? Let me backtrack. We have all this data that you see in here is associated only with the devices that you have discovered. So it's not going to go out and just find pull all the CVEs from like the national database that NIST provides, it only matches up those CVEs with your known devices. So, for example, if I don't know, a certain CVEs affects a Siemens product, but you are a Rockwell house, for example, you're not going to see that here. This only shows you what affects your install base, essentially. All right. And that right there is all about, this just enhances the inventory quality, because if you know exactly what you have, meaning like the make, model, and the firmware versions, now you can really get into the weeds and do vulnerability management the smart way. You can map vulnerabilities to devices that actually exist, like I mentioned. You can prioritize based on the criticality and the exposure. And yeah, you pretty much go from wasting time trying to figure out what you have, and like I said, straight into the weeds, and you're able to see the what's vulnerable, what needs to be fixed, and you can run your reports all within OT-based inventory, which is like great because it's like your one-stop shop in doing everything OT related, OT and IT related. So an inventory platform should give you a place where vulnerability management lives alongside the asset data, which I showed you here inside of inventory. And because it's built into the system, that's how you get the speed and accuracy of understanding your OT environment. And quickly, I just want to show you that the metadata, how we pull stuff in and how things get processed. So right now it's 2026, and since the beginning we've put this installation of OT-based inventory, it pulled in 870 CVEs that it then processes and figures out, okay, this is affecting, a device in Anthony's install base. Let's bring it to the forefront. You see, and this is all automatic as long as you set up and configure OT base the right way, which we can help you with, and that's not a problem at all. And another thing I want to show you, since we're talking about vulnerability management, is you can do things like audits and figure out, who's running prohibited software. We can go in there and see exactly like what software we set as prohibited and who or what devices is running that software, which works out great in when it comes to doing audits and enforcing policies, especially for the IT folks, because at the end of the day, it's the IT folks that's going to set all of this all up. And from our past meetings with prospective customers, it's always the IT department setting this up. The OT side of things, they're happy for the visibility all the time. They're super happy for the visibility, and as long as you're not interfering with their stuff, which is what I mentioned before, our software has the knowledge of OT. So a lot of people might say, active discovery, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, things that the manufacturer gives you, like RS links, what's it doing? It's not doing passive discovery, it's doing active discovery. And that's because they're speaking to devices in the standard protocols that those devices use. You're not flooding the devices with, hey, do you speak SNMP? Hey, do you speak the HTTPS? Hey, do you speak the... No. We know the device and we say, okay, this is what we got to talk to it in. So your discovery tool should be able to do the same. And guess what? You don't have to shop any further and everything. Everything is right here in OT-based discovery and OT-based inventory. So yeah, everything comes together real well in the OT based in ecosystem, as I would like to say. And when it comes to how should I say this? When it comes to the things like policies, this is the part that like nobody gets excited about until it's time for an audit, and then suddenly everybody cares all of a sudden. And this is another reason why you would want an inventory automatic OT inventory system that goes beyond just an asset list. You want a place where you can check things like, do we have any outdated operating systems in production? Are insecure protocols enabled everywhere? And just things of that nature, because without the inventory side of things, audits turn into scavenger hunt, and no one wants to do scavenger hunts at work. Now, with an inventory system, audits turn into a report, and that's the difference between something that's reactive security and common sense OT security. All right, and just to wrap things up, I just want to say that if I had to summarize today's episode in one sentence, it should be this. Discovery helps you find the assets. Inventory helps you turn those assets into decisions. And if you're an IT professional stepping into OT for the first time, chances are you most likely are, because you're watching this video, your best move is to focus on tools that reduce the manual effort. Because once you have that automated discovery feeding into your contextualized OT asset inventory, everything just becomes easier. You have the vulnerability management, audits and policies, change reporting, and just overall collaboration with the different departments at your company. So yeah, that's it for this episode of Common Sense OT Security. My name is Anthony. I'll see you in the next one.